Hey everybody, you've heard me talk about Statcrunch in the past in emails and messages and announcements. This week is really where you're going to start using Statcrunch, and you'll be doing it throughout the upcoming weeks. I expect that you will rely on Statcrunch to do almost all, if not all, of the calculations. I don't want you to focus in on the formulas, so please don't stress over the formulas. I don't expect you to be using them really. You can use them for trying to understand what the calculation is about, like what's involved, what affects it, things like that. But to actually do the calculation, I highly encourage you to use Statcrunch. I think I showed you this in the welcome video, but I wanted to show it again this week, especially for some of the things that you're going to need to be able to do. So I have a problem from your 3.2 homework. Again, any of the problems that have data in it, you'll notice this little window here. You can click on it, and it will say Open in Statcrunch. If you don't see the data, like in number 5, you can click on this and it will show you the data, right? And then once again, your little tab is right there. In order to find the value, or in order to use Statcrunch to calculate the values that you're trying to find, the statistics, you can just click on this, open it in Statcrunch. You'll have a new window that comes up. Make sure you have your pop-up blockers undone or it's not going to show this window. From here, and I'll just look at this question here, it's asking for the standard deviation. This is going to be slightly different, but it's fine. This week, you're going to spend most of your time in two places. So in Chapter 3, you're going to go to Stat, and then you're going to go to Summary Stats, and then you're going to go to Columns. So again, one more time, Stat, Summary Stats, Columns, because your data is in columns. And then you got to click the variable that you want to compute statistics of, so just click that. And so notice it puts Pulse over here. And then you'll notice that down here on the right-hand side, these are the things that are clicked. On the left-hand side, those are all of the options. So you can kind of see a slight deviation in color there. These are the ones that are defaulted, selected per Statcrunch. If you want to select other things, you can do that as well. So for this right now, just showing you this, I'm going to not click anything. This is what automatically comes up, and I'm just going to hit compute, and notice that it computes all of this information for you on the pulse rate. So you have your mean, your variance, your standard deviation, your median, your min-max, Q1, Q3. Remember, median is your Q2. So all that's there. So do not do that stuff by hand. Even though I know how you know how to do the mean, you add them up and divide by how many you have. Do not do that. It takes too long. Let Statcrunch do it for you. You're going to spend most of your time in Chapter 3 just doing that, going Stat, Summary Stats, Columns, and then clicking Compute. That way you have to select the variable, but then hit Compute, and then you'll get this window here. If you don't know your symbols yet, that's going to be something you want to spend a large amount of time on. So for this question here, it's asking you for sigma. Sigma is the population standard deviation. So you may look over here and go, oh, my standard deviation is 10.4. But notice what happens when you do that, 10.4. Notice that it tells us that that's wrong. The reason that's wrong is because this is asking for population standard deviation. And the one that's automatically defaulted in Statcrunch is sample standard deviation. So one little thing that I want to include in this video is to show you how to do that. So once again, I'm going to go to Stat, Summary Stats, and Columns. Still going to select that. Going to select Pulse. Again, the standard deviation that's here that's automatically defaulted is for sample standard deviation because it's generally talking about statistics, right? Statistics are about samples. Sigma is a population parameter, so that's not something that's defaulted. So in order to grab that, I'm going to actually have to select unadjusted standard deviation. So if I just click this, it's going to erase all this and just give me that, which is fine because that's all the question's asking for right now. Unadjusted standard deviation, and we see that is 9.9 based on one decimal place, right? So 9.9, let's make sure we get it. And we should be fine. So just a slight difference there. Most of the time, you're not going to need you're not going to be looking at sigma. This is just an extra thing I wanted to put in here. Now notice that it says it's asking for sample standard deviation past that, so that's different. So again, Stat, Summary Stats, Columns. Select your variable, and then default is usually what will get you through the problem. I also want to show you one more thing. I showed this in a couple of other videos, but why I have you looking at Statcrunch just to have Module 2 kind of encompassed here. If we go to your homework and we look at a Chapter 4 thing, because that's also in this week. So I'm going to just go to 4.2, pull up some data here. Once again, you're going to notice that with any data that you're given, just trying to find a problem that has data in it. Yep, here we go. It'll have this little tab you can click on, open in Statcrunch. Chapter 4 is about regression, which is focused, is what your quantitative project is focused on. So in order to do the things that you need for chapter 4, you're going to go to stat, and then you're going to look for regression, and then we're looking at just simple linear. So one more time, stat, regression, simple linear. We won't look at the other ones, the other regressions. So simple linear, you'll have to tell it which one is your x variable and which one is your y variable. I don't remember. So weight is x and miles per gallon is y. So weight is x, miles per gallon is y. And then from here, you can just click compute. You really won't have to mess with any of the other stuff that's down here. So you'll get all this stuff for free. So I know that it's early in the week. You probably haven't gotten to chapter 4 yet. And you can see all this information that's kind of given here. You can actually really just kind of limit your eyes to this piece, right? That's the part that you're really going to need to focus in on. So you're going to need to be able to plot your slope, which is this number here, your y-intercept, which is this number here, correlation coefficient, your r squared, which is known as your coefficient of determination. Past that, that should get you everything in chapter 4. One note to look at in terms of how Statcrunch writes up your equation for the regression. Notice it puts it in like mx plus b form, as you would be familiar in an algebra class. Most statistics softwares do not write it in mx plus b form. They write it in b plus mx form. And again, that's just because it's a different world, right? They have their own kind of norms. So just kind of expect that. So here, where it's asking for the value for x, which is your slope, that is not the 40 because that's your y-intercept. It's not attached to your variable. The slope is this number here, the negative 0.0064, so on and so forth. That may be where it's beneficial to do look down here because you can see your slope is written as an estimate there for that number. Again, just some FYI things I'm thinking about as I pull this up. The big thing I want you to take away from this video is where you can go in Statcrunch to get the different things you're going to need for this week. Again, for chapter 3, stat, summary stats, columns, and then just usually you can get by with the default things. And then for chapter 4, stat, and then go down to regression and simple linear. Guys, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, by all means, let me know. Other than that, I look forward to hearing from you.